Today my guest is Dr. Anirban Bandyopadhyay. He is a senior scientist at the National Material Sciences in Japan. He is an experimental biophysicist. His groundbreaking research relating to microtubules in the brain won several accolades from the world scientific community. He was a visiting scientist at MIT. His newly released book, Nano Brain, he came up with a startling theory: how a simple novel coronavirus-like structure, smaller than a dust particle, possesses that kind of intelligence to wage deadly attack on humans. He gives a dire warning: this is the beginning of a war between humans and viruses for resources in the coming years. My first guest is Professor Anirban Bandyopadhyay, a senior scientist from National Institute of Material Sciences in Japan and author of the newly released book, Nano Brain. We will be discussing now some of the topics, brain and the mind related to healthcare. Welcome, Anirban. It is easy to call you with the first name, right? A tree never goes to a school, but performs advanced superior computing in its leaves. Brain without a single logic gate, ants in the soil, birds in the sky without a central control units still develop intelligence. Here, lots of idiots can also develop massive intelligence working together. It is one of your writings from your university days. As you know, our planet is going through a deadly pandemic, Anirban. The question is how a virus, smaller than a dust particle, acquired that kind of intelligence to seek human body and invade cells and destroy the respiratory system. Where is that virus got that kind of a intelligence from?
The question that why virus with only a few protein molecules became so intelligent. So this question, the researchers asked in the 1960s, in the 1970s, and they came up with a concept called the time crystal. So Arthur Winfrey from Arizona State University, he first compiled the research from 1960s to 1970s. But how could a few protein molecules, it's not much, only 10 to 20 nanometers. Of course, COVID-19 is 150 nanometers to 200 nanometers. Its size, it's quite big compared to the normal viruses that we see. So it's large in size. Mostly the coronavirus. Coronavirus means there are some viruses which has spikes on its surface. It's a sphere and then spikes on the surface. Those spikes are used to bind with another spike of the human cells. So those receptors and spikes bind together. So that binding, if it is very efficient, very, very efficient, then it will spread like anything. So it is about binding, but the point is, I think your question, if I can reframe, is how does the virus, which has only a few protein molecules, come up with an intelligence to understand that I have to change like this, then I can bind it better. And then I have to change it like this, then I have to make it better. So this is actually your concern, that how are they doing it? To answer this question, I would like to get back not only to the research of Arthur Winfrey and their followers of time crystal research, where they thought that there is an architecture of clock. So if we look at the material, then we will not be able to understand the intelligence. It's a beautiful kind of hidden statement that was there at that point of time. And then they came up with an idea. The time crystal research went on, and then they said that if you have a clock and if you have another clock, the clock can rotate on the guest clock can rotate on the host clock like this. So what happens is it looks like a meander flower. So they came up garden of meander flowers. So the viruses, you can't see, when you see it, you can't look into it, but if you measure its vibrations, then you can see that it is singing like a composition of music, and then that is quite complex, much more complex than it is. And then with that, it was created in USA, and then no people followed it up after 1990s. I mean, in 2000, you can find the most Nobel papers, and after that, it just disappeared. Why, I don't know. Well, whether normally it should be that the medical science people would pick it up. The second part of it is that the virus, the intelligence of the virus is not limited to the shape that you see, 10 nanometers, so we can ignore it. No. The collective life form, the collective intelligence is much more important. For an example, in 2011, I posted in Facebook, I wrote an article that, look, in the food pyramid, humans are now everywhere. So humans eat everything, just everything. And virus is everywhere, eat everything. So of course, because of our bad work, humanity's bad work, slowly, many species would disappear from this planet. But what humans don't understand, that in the theory of collective life form, when you kill many species, knowingly or unknowingly, I'm not saying that humanity is very bad and they always want to kill and destroy. But if they disappear, then only 2 species are left in the planet who will fight for the survival in the food pyramid, virus and humans. And they will fight it out so severely that we cannot fathom the depth. So I would say that COVID-19 is a very tip of the iceberg of the great fatal thing that is coming towards humanity. So humanity is on the verge of collapse, and this tip of iceberg that you are seeing it is nothing. It's nothing. In 2011, I wrote about it, that if there is a fight between humans and viruses, virus will win, because they are bots, like robotics. They don't have consciousness, kindness, thinking that what is better or good. They just want to use the host to do it. Now there is a new theory that this virus is getting weak due to mutation and then evolution process. Don't be very optimistic about it. When it is evolving and mutating, it is following certain mathematical logic, certain things, which we have tried to explore in our Nano Brain book, where we try to see that these clock architectures, which was conceptualized, we have generalized it. We have said that whole brain body system is actually clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock. This clock architecture. The virus, when they collectively go to different life forms and then exchange and change, they also create a clock-like architecture. So the clock, when it comes to my body, it is one kind of clock system. It is there. There is a tiny little change. So clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock. When there is a chain of this kind of clock, you tweak some of the pattern here, and it affects all around. So if the whole universe is just like a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock architecture, then basically it is communicating with the universe or chain of life forms in the same way we are doing it. Because our side is big and more complex, that doesn't mean that virus collectively is a stupid life form. If there is a fundamental rules of mathematical rules of this universe, if I understand it, the virus in its structure can also sense it and manipulate it. So that arrogance humanity has to leave. Redefine intelligence. Intelligence is not line of programming. So virus has few proteins, few line of programs. So that means it's a stupid thing and a whole thing. Me, big, so many proteins, 10 to the power 14 number of protein molecules or 16 number of protein molecules, and we are continuously evolving and so conscious. That's why we would be more. That's a very bad arrogance. As soon as humanity leaves it, it's better.